would you say you had a difficult time focusing in class as a kid? Were taking tests in high school a nightmare? Was it ever hard for you to focus or sit still? Perhaps it affected your life at home as well, like your chores or following simple directions or finishing your homework. Well, these are all struggles similar to the ones facing children and teens across the country that have symptoms of neurobiological disorders. Some of you may be thinking, well, I've never had those problems, so how does this affect me, and what in the world is a neurobiological disorder? Well, it turns out that 4.5 million children 5 to 17 years of age have been diagnosed with a neurobiological disorder, such as ADHD, as of 2006, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. So chances are that you or someone you know has been diagnosed with ADHD or a similar disorder, and what affects American kids and teens of this generation affects us all. Well, today I'm going to share with you some shocking information that I have researched about the misdiagnosis of children and teens with symptoms of neurobiological disorders. First, I will describe the problem of misdiagnosis of children with neurobiological disorders. Then I will address the causes for this problem, and finally I'll discuss the solutions to the problem of misdiagnosis in American youth. A neurobiological disorder is classified as a disorder of the body's nervous system. Diagnosing neurobiological disorders is no easy task because there's no simple test a person can take that can determine whether or not they have a disorder. This has led to the misdiagnosis of children and teens all across the country. Millions of children and teens across the U.S. are afflicted with symptoms associated with neurobiological disorders like ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, such as a lack of focus, inability to pay attention, hyperactivity, and disruptive behavior. The facts and statistics I've obtained from sources like the Center for Disease Control and Prevention reveal that due to inadequate testing and the absence of professional screening and evaluation, more and more of America's youth are being diagnosed with ADHD or similar disorders each year and are put on medication that is potentially harmful for them for symptoms that they have that might not even have a disorder at all. In order to explore the symptoms of neurobiological disorder, I researched attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and I found out that there's been an increase of 3% per year from 1997 to 2006 in the diagnosis of ADHD, according to KeepKidsHealthy.com. And according to an August 17, 2010 study published in the Journal of Health Economics, nearly 900,000 children under age 18 may have been misdiagnosed with ADHD, according to Deanna Sletton. This seemed to be one of the most commonly diagnosed neurobiological disorders among young people, so I decided to research it some more. And what I found out is that having the symptoms of ADHD, which is having a short attention span, being easily distracted, or being impulsive and hyperactive, does not necessarily mean that it is being caused by the disorder. Unfortunately, the symptoms of ADHD may be present in more than 30 other disorders that have nothing to do with ADHD, ranging from problems with the sensory system, mental illness, or psychosocial and medical problems, according to KeepKidsHealthy.com. And millions of kids and teens across the U.S. have been diagnosed with ADHD and are put on medication that could be potentially harmful to them. Stimulants are the most common type of medication prescribed for ADHD patients, and the stimulant class of medication includes a lot of really popular drugs like Ritalin, Adderall, and Dexedrine. And these stimulants are believed to work by increasing the dopamine levels in the brain, and a lot of ADHD patients say that this helps reduce their hyperactive and impulsive behaviors, according to the article, Are Drugs Right for You or Your Child? However, these medications can have adverse side effects, such as feeling restless and jittery, difficulty sleeping, loss of appetite, headaches, upset stomach, irritability, mood swings, depression, dizziness, racing heartbeats, and even tics, according to the same article, Are Drugs Right for You or Your Child? As of 2003, 2.5 million youth ages 4 to 17 years of age, 56% of which had a diagnosis, were receiving medication treatment for a disorder such as ADHD, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. 2.5 million, with children as young as 4 years old. But most importantly, it's dangerous because it is not yet known what the long-term effects of taking stimulants will have on a child's health, according to Deanna Sletton. So not only is misdiagnosis of ADHD in young children and teens a potential danger to their health, but it's also costing parents, insurance companies, and Medicaid even millions of dollars each year in unnecessary medication, according to Deanna Slatton. As I mentioned before, 4.5 million children have been diagnosed as of 2006. That's nearly 13.5%. So why are so many young kids being diagnosed with neurobiological disorders and being misdiagnosed? And what are the causes for the misdiagnosis? Well, since there's no tests to determine whether or not a child has ADHD, most of the problem can be attributed to a lack of professional screening and evaluation of a child that is showing symptoms instead of jumping straight to misdiagnosis. 7.8% of school-age children were reported to have ADHD diagnosis by their parent in 2003, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Unless a parent is a doctor, a neurologist, or any sort of medical or child care professional, there's no reason that they should be screening a child. You should always consult a doctor first. So why are children misdiagnosed with ADHD? Well, the main reason is that there is no test for it, and that right now doctors are relying on questionnaires and observations from parents and teachers to see if a child has the symptoms of ADHD, which might not even be that serious. It could be something as simple as being easily distracted, and that's what they think is enough as evidence to constitute that they have ADHD. And as we have seen, there's a major problem in America with children and teens being misdiagnosed, which can lead to needless medication and spending millions of dollars in pointless treatment, along with other damaging consequences. So is there a way to determine whether or not a child has a neurobiological disorder like ADHD without risking a misdiagnosis? Well, the solution that I would support is for parents, teachers, medical professionals, and any other adults that work with children to go seek out professional screening before assuming that any child or teen needs medication for symptoms such as attention span or hyperactivity or behavioral problems. It also helps to OLRA, which I say is observe, listen, report, and accommodate. We should observe the child's behavior and report any concerns. We should listen to the child and hear their side of the story to see if they're just having a bad day or if something's a little off. It's only when they say, I don't know why I'm acting this way, that we should be concerned. We should report any behavior that we think is causing a child to lag behind, or it might be a developmental problem, or it might be the symptoms of ADHD to the parents in a discreet setting, never in front of the child, never in front of a group of other childs. It should be somewhere like after school or maybe at a parent-teacher conference. And finally, we need to accommodate. We should never let a child or teen risk their own happiness. We should always accommodate them in the classroom or at home to ensure that no one feels ostracized or inadequate. Parents should understand that a child or a teen with a neurobiological disorder that affects their attention span, energy level, or behavior require more patience and sensitivity than their peers may. And remember that for the most part, it's not personal and the behavior is not directed towards you, it's just something that's out of the child's control. And please note that I am not against medication. You should never stop your medication without talking to a doctor, and in most cases medication is effective. It's just when you feel like the health or happiness or safety of your child is being compromised that you should ever consider taking your child off medication. So in conclusion, I hope my speech has shed some light on the important issue of misdiagnosis in kids and teens by defining neurobiological disorders for you and explaining how millions of kids and teens in America are being misdiagnosed, and it's causing a lot of over-medication and negative consequences. And since there are no simple tests to diagnose most neurobiological disorders, professional screening and doctor diagnosis should be used before any parents or anyone else jumps to the conclusion that a child has a neurobiological disorder or needs medication. So professional screening can take place at home so that kids and teens feel at ease in an environment that's familiar, so that the way the screening is less intimidating. And this can ensure that kids and teens receive proper evaluation and diagnosis for their symptoms, regardless of whether or not medication is prescribed. So there are plenty of happy, healthy kids that are on little to no medication at all that deal with their symptoms. And though medications are helpful, parents or adults should never feel obligated to medicate their children, because not all medication fixes the problem. If a sustainable balance can be found with safe doses of medication, or a child can find a way to be happy without it, then we won't have to compromise anything with our symptoms because of misdiagnosis.